Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy, and on today's episode, we're doing some Dollar Tree DIYs for your spring home decor, but I'm also going to be using some trash and turning it into what I think is a treasure. So Michael J saved some styrofoam packing supplies that he pulled out when he was unpacking some outdoor kitchen items, and so we had some long, big sheets. Here's what he's working on. We're gonna finally have an outdoor barbecue with a refrigerator and some drawers. He made this not all by himself, but with the help of his brother and some friends. But anyway, so I'll be able to show you that later on this summer. So I'm gonna first start to figure out how tall I want this piece to be. And you can see it's probably about 2 inches thick, this styrofoam. So I'm gonna look online to try and get an idea of a bunny of some sort. I want a side silhouette view of this. So I'm just gonna use my pencil and try and figure out, what shape I want this bunny to be. Now I first started and he was a little bit short. I wanted him to have his feet where it would be perfectly even at the bottom. So I flipped it over and started over because I thought it would be better to start at the bottom and then work my way up so that his little floppy feet will be at the bottom of my piece and he'll be able to stand up. So then I'm just gonna kind of pencil out where I want him to be, and there's gonna be lots of little mistakes and stuff. So I'm gonna wait until I get the size and shape that I want, and then I'll go back in with my Sharpie to define those lines and make sure those are the ones that I really want to cut out. So now I'm going to take my heat wand, and I'll have this linked in the description box below, and I'm doing this in super fast time, so it does take a little bit longer. Well, it takes a lot longer because you have to kind of go through pretty slowly, and when you get a little bit of that styrofoam buildup that's melted onto the wand, I just kept wiping it off with an icky towel so that it would be nice and clean, and then you just go right back in there and keep going until you get your whole shape cut out. And once you pull it out of the styrofoam piece, you'll see there's like some fibers at the end. But the good thing about the heat tool is that it kind of locks in the edges, kind of singes it together, or, fuses it together so that you have nice clean edges. And if you want to go back and make some adjustments or make some areas a little bit smoother, you can do that with your wand. So now I'm going to take some caulking from the Dollar Tree, and I have one that's halfway used, and then I have another full one. I'll tell you how much it ends up taking once I'm done with this. So I'm just going to squeeze this out. Now this is the kind like toothpaste that you can just squeeze it out this way, but they also sometimes carry the tube kind where you put it in that caulking gun and squeeze it out that way. So anyway, whichever, I think this is the easier way, but I'm just gonna squeeze that all on there and get it all over him, and then just wipe it over. And this is so much fun. Again, it's like finger painting. And then when you get it all on there and get all the nooks and crannies, you want to be sure to get all of the edges and cover every piece of styrofoam up that you can. And this is going to do a few things for our little bunny, and anything that you cut out with styrofoam you can cover with this caulking, and it's going to make it heavier. It'll kind of look like cement or concrete, but also I love that it will give it this textury goodness that I love so much. And you can kind of just go in the direction that the bunny's fur would go, and like with his little tail you can pat that out and make it a little bushier. I'm gonna go in the direction, so like his leg, the fur would be going up and down. I'm gonna do that up and down, and then where his eye is, I'm just gonna kind of make a little indentation and make it in the semi shape of an eye, and then I'll kind of rub out his little nose, and then on his ears I'm just going to kind of make those lines with my fingers to give it that look of a real bunny statue. And then once it's all done on one side and the edges, I'm going to let that dry for 24 hours, and then I'll turn it over and do the other side as well. Now once everything is completely dry, then I'm going to go back in with my white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint everything completely white. Now, I had planned to actually add some of that you know, antique wax or some kind of distressing to give it some more definition and make that texture just really pop out. But I just loved him so much, and if you do this project, you have the option to do that, and I think it would look really, really pretty. But because of my own personal decor, I just decided to leave him completely white. Now, I learned from a couple of viewers that if you put your chalk paint on pretty thick, depending on what kind of surface it is, it will automatically crack. So I thought this was so pretty, and I learned so much from you guys, but I thought this made it look like a real cracked sculpture made out of something other than Dollar Tree caulking and styrofoam. So now this was the part that I was most excited about. I'm going to take my drill and just make a hole into his hands, and then I can take a flower stem of some sort. I have these Dollar Tree hydrangeas, a mum from Walmart, and then I have this really beautiful rose that was in my bedroom for a long time. So you can use whatever flower you want. I actually have something else that I'm going to be using it for, but I just wanted to give this to you as an option also. So what's actually going to happen is the leaf that is on the stem is what's going to kind of hold it up, so it looks like he's actually holding a little flower. Isn't that adorable? So this one, you can see it's a nice white color, and it just, I think, goes with that so pretty. And then the pink one, that's super pretty, and the leaf is in the right place so that it'll go down, but it'll, you know, not jingle around in there because it kind of fills up that hole with that bottom part of the leaf. But look how cute he is holding that. And then the mum from Dollar Tree, the leaves were a little too low. So what I decided to do in order to make it, you know, hold up in his hands is take the leaves off and then add some masking tape right around the edge so that it's right in the middle, and he's going to stay snug as a bug in a rug, held in his little paws right there in the middle. But the real reason why I wanted to make that hole is I'm going to take my rosary, and this is my most special rosary that has a lot of mileage on it. This was my grandma's rosary. I've shown this to you before, but that's just going to go right inside his little paws, and then I'm just going to wrap it around so it looks like he's praying his little rosary. And I don't know if you were able to tell, I made his face kind of go pointed toward, you know, the sky like he's praying to Jesus. So anyway, I just think that's super cutie patootie. You don't have to do it that way, but I just thought that was super sweet. So then, because it is also, we're adding a little bit of Easter here, I'm going to take some lavender and white gingham and wrap his neck and tie that into a sweet little bow. You can add whatever flowers you want to either coordinate with whatever decor you're doing or whatever colors you're using. I'm going to go ahead and use these really pretty, I don't know, they're not really cabbage roses. I don't know what these are called. You guys will probably tell me, but I'm going to take, these are from Walmart, by the way. So they've got different size buds on there. So I'm going to take some smaller ones so that it's not completely covered up by, you know, one big rose or something. But again, you can put whatever you want. I just think it was really cute to have these two littler ones. And then I had the really pretty leaves that look very realistic to me. I love these so much. I took those off of that really pretty white rose. So I'm going to add that to the side. And this way you can still see the sweet little bow that's in there and the little foofs. And so I'll just tuck those in with some hot glue and add that to our little bunny neck and let those tails hang down and just twist or just do whatever it wants freely. And here it is all finished, and I love this so much. It was so super easy. I mean, it's a little time consuming, but what you're waiting for is that caulking to dry and then the paint to dry, and I just think he's so adorable, and I love him, and I love that he's praying, and that is the reason for the Easter season. You see, I put a metal cross on the wall there so that it would go with the theme to show this to you guys. But anyway, I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. Today, I'm so super excited to be collaborating with 3 sweet friends for part 1 of our spring crafting fun. We're doing spring DIYs today, and then in a couple of weeks we'll be back doing some Easter Jesus projects. So be sure to get those little bells pushed so that you know when we post those videos. So we have Linda at Linda's DIY by Design, Emily at Farm Charm Chic, and Patty at Patty J Good. And I would love if after you're done with my video, you'll go watch theirs. All three of these ladies are so amazing and talented, and I know you are going to love all of their springy creations. Also, let them know you're coming from my channel, and if you're coming from one of their channels, let me know in the comments below, and hopefully you'll come back and visit our happy little nest again soon. So here's another project where I'm going to use something that I would normally just throw away. These are sardine cans, and I'm going to use 3 of them. Michael J likes sardines. I do not, but I love the shape of them. I'm also going to be using one of Dollar Tree's long signs. These are those chunky ones that stand up on a shelf by itself. And then a styrofoam bunny, actually 3 of them. These are also from Dollar Tree, and they're just, you know, the natural styrofoam, so we're gonna have to cover that up. And then also these wee little mushrooms. I love these so much, and I'm gonna use those again. I've got some Spanish moss that I get from Amazon. They have it at Dollar Tree as well in smaller quantities, but I need a lot, so I get it from there. I'll have that link below. So I'm going to measure how far apart when I stand up these cans. That's how long I need my base to be. So I'm going to take that outside and cut that down right in the middle, or not in the middle, but where I need it to be cut with my chop saw outside, or miter saw, whatever it's called. And then I'm going to take my white chalk paint and paint that base. And the sides, the ends, you know, the edges of this wood, it's not really wood, it's like that MDF or whatever, something that's not really wood. And so the paint does kind of seep into that, so you might have to give it a couple of coats, but this chalk paint covers really well. And then I'm also going to paint my bunnies, and I just put them on a little skewer and paint those completely white. Again, you could distress these if you want, but I'm really loving that crisp, clean look with the bright white. And then I'm also going to be painting my cans, and so I'll paint the outside edges, the backs of them, because you will see the back of this piece. And then I'm also going to paint the inside rim. Now the back of the can is going to be covered, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But I want to wait until all of this dries, and then once it does, I'm telling you, a lot of these projects, it takes more time for the paint to dry than it does to actually make the projects. So I'm going to take a glue and water mixture and leftover book pages that I had for another project in my last video, and I never want to throw them away, so I thought I would use them here, and it was perfect. So I'm just going to rip those pieces down and put that on the back of my little cans and just go along. I didn't even trim it or anything. I just kind of ripped it so that it would be curved and go around the back of those cans, and then just layer it and give it some interest. But I don't need to do the bottom portion because that's where our Spanish moss is going to go. And then just to kind of make things go a little quicker, I'm going to take my heat tool and get those dried, and I'm going to be watching TV while I'm doing that. Now in the meantime, I made 3 sweet little bows using my pink and white and my purple and white gingham from the Dollar Tree. And then once my base is dry, I'm going to use my sanding block from the Dollar Tree and get that nice and distressed looking around the edges and all the corners. And then the same thing with my sardine cans. I'm going to brush those up a little bit just to give it some distressing and a little bit of a weathered look that is so farmhouse and so pretty. So now it's time to attach my cans to my base, and I'm just using my staple gun, my Milwaukee staple gun, and this is cordless, and I love this because it's super easy to use and I need easy. So I'm just going to put them on my base and then give them a couple of staples down at the bottom. Now you're still able to move them around a little bit if you need to, you know, adjust it to get it right, because I see as I was doing this, one of them was a little bit crooked, so I just moved it around and then it stayed in place. So now I'm going to take my hot glue and add that Spanish moss down at the bottom and fill it about 1/4 of the way, and then just make sure that that's all snug as a bug in a rug. And then once I get my Spanish moss in there, I'm going to take my little bunnies, which should be dry by now, and glue those to the back. So it's kind of sitting on the Spanish moss, but it's really just glued to the back of my can. And I'll do that for all 3 of them. So now I'm going to take my mini little mushrooms and I'm going to cut those down and give it a little hot glue and then poke those into the Spanish moss. I did 2 on one side and 1 on the other just randomly. You'll see when I turn it around. And then I did the purple on the outsides and then the pink in the middle. And that's also the way my sweet little bows are going to be attached at the top of each of my cans. So I'll just take some hot glue and put it in the middle of my bow. And then for the tails, I'm going to give it a little dot to kind of make it mush up there, or give it a little bumpity bump on each of those sides. So now, because I have a little piece at the front of my base where I can put something on there, I'm going to take some scrap adhesive vinyl and cut out the scripture, "Behold, I make all things new," from Revelation 21:5. And I'm using my CRICUT design space, and the font I used is called Medina Script, and I'll have that linked in the description box below. So I'm just going to cut that out and then weed it all out. And it's a little harder because these are pretty skinny letters, but just take your time, and I think it's so worth it. And then I'll put some transfer tape on top and then pull off the backing sheet, and then I'm going to put that right on the front of my base, and it's done. And here's how this one turned out, and I am so in love with this. This was kind of just a filler project, but I don't know, those somehow become some of my favorites. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So in my last video, I made this really pretty Fabergé egg, or mercury plastic egg, from Dollar Tree, and I was going to use this pot, but I ended up pivoting, so I'm going to use it for this project. I'm going to take a pool noodle and just cut that down and then fold that up and into my pot, and it stays snug as a bug in a rug. And then I'm also going to be using this sweet little Dollar Tree birdhouse, and it's in the raw wood. And then I'm also going to use this pretty wreath. It's called a willow wreath from Dollar Tree. And then some cherry blossoms in pink and white. So I'm just going to cut those down. There's about 3 stems on each of the larger stems. So I was able to get 3 longer pieces to attach to my wreath, and I didn't even have to use any hot glue. I just tucked them in between the willow wreath and then just folded it around, and then I guess, you know, physics takes place and it will kind of just hold into place if you wrap it the right way. And if it doesn't stay or it pokes out, you can just use the other end and poke it into the willow wreath as well. And I just want the pinks and whites to kind of alternate and look equal all the way around. And if there's any blank spots, I just took some extra blossoms and glued them here and there. And then I'm going to take some of these Dollar Tree, I don't know what they are. They're kind of hard to use in arrangements because they give me the feel of like spider legs. So this was the perfect project to use them in. And I'm just going to hot glue those to the wreath itself and add that to the pretties of the wreath. So then I took my birdhouse and I'm going to paint the roof of it with my white chalk paint, and then for the body of it, or the sides of the rest of the house, I added a little bit of blush by Hello Hobby, the chalk paint from Walmart, and I'm going to mix those two together to give it a really light pink that matches more with my cherry blossoms of the wreath, and then cover the rest of my house all the way to the bottom. So now to attach my birdhouse, I'm going to take some paddle wire and feed that in 2 spots at the bottom of my wreath. And then I'm going to mark where it's going to go so that I can take my pool noodle out and attach that wire around the bottom of it, and then twist it pretty hard, and then put my pool noodle back into my vase. And then I added a little more hot glue just to give it a little more stability. So there's a bunch of things that you could do to dress up the birdhouse, but because my wreath was already busy with all the florals on it, I decided just to put some reindeer moss in a couple of corners and on the roof, and just keep it kind of simple. And then I'm going to attach my birdhouse right to the bottom of my wreath with some hot glue, and I just gobbed it on, quite a bit of it, just to make sure that it stayed in place. And then I'm going to add some more reindeer moss into the bottom part of my planter to cover up my pool noodle. So now I'm going to take some Dollar Tree letters and I'm going to spell out the word spring, and I'm putting it on top of some folded over painter's tape, you know, where the sticky side is facing up, so that my letters will stay in place while I'm painting them. So I painted the top part of the letter with my blush paint, and then I'm going to paint the bottom with some celery paint. And then in the middle, I'm going to go through with some white. Now the pink was a little bit too dark and didn't match my flowers very well, so I decided to lighten that up a little bit and make it a softer shade of pink to match my birdhouse and my flowers. So then I made another sweet little bow for the top of my wreath, and I'm just going to tie it into a sweet little bow and then cut it at an angle at the bottom, and then just hot glue that to the very tippity top of my wreath. And then to coordinate with my pink and white gingham ribbon, at the bottom I'm going to take another long strip, and it was just what I had at the end of the roll, so I'm going to cut off the ends at an angle, and then I'm going to hot glue those so that a little bit is hanging over, and then I'm going to let it just drape across the front of my vase, and then hot glue it again on the other side. And then that's going to be there so that we can take some teeny weeny little clothespins from the Dollar Tree. And these are multicolored, but I just pulled out the white ones, and I'm going to use 5, one for each of my letters for the word spring, and I'm going to clip my letters to that little piece of ribbon on the front of that vase. And then I always like to include a little birdie that will be inhabiting their birdhouse. He's a little big for it, but I was going to paint him and do him up like I normally do with the Dollar Tree birds, because they're not always super pretty, but this was the most perfect color of green that matched my reindeer moss, and he was sparkly and cute, so I just decided to leave him the way he was. And here it is, all finished, and I think this is so pretty. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I used some more of my pretty pink mushrooms and just tucked those right into that reindeer moss down at the bottom, and it was done. But I love how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. It just really screams spring to me. I hope you guys enjoyed these projects, and if you did, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as is the little bell right next to it so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Don't forget to check out the rest of the playlist. Just click on the link down below and that'll take you right to the other videos. I hope everyone has a blessed day. Don't forget the real reason for the season. And remember to always be the light. Bye!